And now onto the Science Award, which recognises the individual or research team that has made an original scientific contribution that is directly useful for the benefit of global marine conservation or ocean health. And this year's Science Award goes to Madeline Evans and Christopher Ruff from the University of Michigan for their groundbreaking work on microplastics. Seeing microplastics from space, that's pretty clever stuff. Incredibly, this ingenious initiative uses satellite imagery of sea surface roughness to detect the density of microplastics anywhere in the world and all year round. It's a live data feed of where the microplastics are and where they're going. It's amazing.
My colleague Vivian Evans caught up with Maddie and Chris to talk about their incredible science.
So Chris and Maddie, a huge congratulations to you both for winning the 2022 Science Ocean Award.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, it's really a great honor. I want to thank the Blue Marine Foundation for noticing our work and improving its visibility, which is really important for us. And I want to thank Maddie, of course, my collaborator on the work, and thank NASA for making this possible by supporting the mission, the satellite mission that we use to do the ocean microplastic work.
I also just want to thank all of the other people in the microplastics remote sensing community and the science community, because they've just been so helpful with shooting ideas back and forth and trying to really get to the bottom of a lot of things.
So Chris, you have developed this new method that allows you to now detect microplastics from space.
So the original idea for this detection technique really arose from a related technique that's used with satellites to track oil spills. And they do that by looking at how the presence of the oil suppresses the roughness of the ocean. And so we just kind of expanded on that idea. The wind over the water causes these little ripples, and you can easily see them with radars from satellites. We looked at how windy it was using other satellite measurements and predicted from that how rough the surface should be. And then we made direct measurements of how rough it actually was with these satellites. And the difference between those is caused by something suppressing the roughening of the ocean. And we hypothesized that was the presence of microplastics because it's a similar type of physical mechanism as happens with oil spills. And then I kind of gave that idea to Maddie, and she spent a year or over a year actually looking at the data very, very carefully and realizing that there actually is this very high correlation between the suppression of roughness of the ocean and the presence of microplastics.
Maddie, how sophisticated are satellites nowadays? I mean, that seems like we've come so far.
I have a huge appreciation for the satellite system that we're using, for which Chris is the principal investigator, so he's being a little bit modest right now. But it's like a bistatic radar system, which is a pretty advanced way of measuring the entire roughness spectrum of the water.
The first time that Maddie worked out this statistical correlate, this one particular calculation that showed that the way that the microplastic variations are predicted from these circulation models, those variations were really highly correlated with these roughness suppression measurements that the radars were making. So that was when I could see that there was a real signal in the data. And it was like, ooh, this actually works. Just the detectability of the microplastics was the first big surprise, pleasant surprise. And then since we've matured the technique and started using it to do science, we've discovered a couple of new things. One of them is seasonal variations in the microplastic concentrations in the big ocean gyres where the plastics tend to concentrate over time, that they are higher in the summer, lower in the winter, and they have a very consistent periodic variation. And then we've also been able to image outflow of the plastic from most of the major rivers on the Earth that we are able to measure with our satellites. And we can see these episodic bursts of microplastics leaving the mouth of the river out into the ocean, and we can see those things happening. We knew they were happening, right? Anecdotally, but being able to actually image them happening is it's a really powerful confirmation of that.
Maddie, could you tell us, did you have that eureka moment where you realized that you were onto something?
I think it was first seeing the maps, the visuals themselves. Because it's one thing to have a statistic that shows you, oh, this might be seeing microplastics in the ocean. It's another thing to watch them go around the world, think of, wow, this could have some sort of an impact. And I think that was something that was really meaningful, especially after just going into the project with wanting to do something.
I mean, maybe this is a bit of a truism, but I believe it, that, you really can't regulate something if you can't measure it. I think that's true in many, many fields, and it's certainly true here. So having a way to actually measure the amount of plastics that's there, the change in it over time, whether it's going up or down, and especially to be able to detect and image the sources, where they're coming from, which major rivers have the most outflow, whether that outflow is changing from year to year, those sorts of things, I think will be, very, very useful and relevant for for supporting the regulation.
So Maddie, am I right in saying that you were an undergraduate student when you started this project, not a PhD student with Chris?
I really wanted to get involved in research in the climate and space department, just do something with environmentalism, because as with many, I think, people that are college aged and even younger, you feel like you really just want to get something done. You get all this bad news from everywhere, and it's a little bit stressful. So you want to start to do something. So I reached out to Chris to see if he had any projects that he was working on that he could use an extra hand with.
I was thinking about this idea, but it seemed kind of out there, and it hadn't been done before. So it was easier to take a big risk with an undergraduate who's interested in just trying something new and seeing what research is like, and maybe it'll work and maybe it won't. And so it seemed like a better type of weird idea kind of project for an undergraduate student to work on, but it turned out really, really nicely.
Chris and Maddie, thank you so much for speaking with us again. And just once again, a huge congratulations to you both for winning this award. It's a fantastic achievement, and I really just look forward to seeing what both of you achieve next.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was great to talk to you.
So the amazing thing to me about these two winners is that we can actually start finding who's putting all this stuff out into the sea and start doing something about it.
It's completely amazing. And if you want to hear Viv talk to Maddie and Chris more, you can download the podcast, which will be on Boat International and Blue Marine's podcast channels.